on sales data. Natural NGLP contains diclofenac diethyl ammonium. Always read the label.
With breakdown cover from the AA, do whatever it takes to ensure your big wheels keep on turning. Our mechanics usually fix your car within 30 minutes of arrival. Breakdown cover from the AA, because anything can happen.
Emirates are bringing the other side of the world closer to home with daily flights from London Stansted. Starting the 8th of June, you'll be able to fly from London Stansted all the way to Dubai and on to over 150 destinations worldwide, making getting from your home to the other side of the world much simpler. Fly Emirates from London Stansted and discover the other side of the world.
On LBC.
Now, one thing that struck me talking about the Windrush generation and the so-called hostile environment for immigration is that actually, on one level, this country is more open than any other European country I know towards outsiders. Of course, that's not the Windrush generation, but, you know, European nationals living here, like myself. Born in Germany, I came here when I was 8 years old, and Britain is almost uniquely welcoming in Europe to outsiders who come here, who prosper here, go to school here, university, get a job, pay their taxes. And this kind of openness towards the rest of Europe, you know, of course, belies the political debate that's going on, and the statistics, and the kind of nastiness of some of the policies being offered. But in actual terms, you know, when you look at, you know, the stories, when you look at the public rhetoric, when you look at people like Arsene Wenger, you know, Frenchmen who came over here and changed British football, not just Arsenal, but British football, English football, like perhaps no other manager. You suddenly realise, actually, this is quite unique. I can't think of an English manager who's changed German football or Italian football in the way that Arsene Wenger has changed English football. Anyway, as we know, he's now going to go back, I don't know where he'll go, south of France, live in retirement. He's been here for 21 years as the club's manager. That is an extraordinary amount of time. You know, half a dozen prime ministers have come and gone while he was manager of Arsenal. So what are we going to miss about him? There are some people who don't miss him at all, of course. There's a very vitriolic campaign going on about getting rid of Arsene Wenger, but those people finally seem to have had their day. We did have regret. No one, or very few people know Arsene Wenger as well as Bob Wilson, OBE, former Arsenal goalkeeper and goalkeeping coach at Arsenal for 28 years. Good morning, Bob.
Matt, good morning.
So, obviously, you're a very close friend of Arsene Wenger's. You worked together for years. You will miss him, won't you? I mean, you'll miss the fact that he's leaving.
I'm definitely going to miss him. I'm not sure about how close that was. I would consider myself a friend. I certainly got to know him, obviously, very well during, from the time that he arrived. I was there on the first day he arrived, but in fact, I always say to everybody, I sort of spotted from that very first morning when he arrived at what was a rented training ground at that time. I mean, this just shows you how his brain worked, this extraordinary brain that he possesses. He arrived there, and we had rented for many, many years the University College of London playing fields, and it's where I trained when I was there way before Arsene. And he had been to Highbury the day before, loved everything about Highbury, but had already, in his mind, I think, had decided 38,000 wasn't enough if he were going to compete at the very top level of the game. Came into that training ground. I remember him coming in, and his head was shaking, because having been to Highbury, he expected the same sort of purpose-built training ground. And it was, I don't quite understand, this is Arsenal, this is not Arsenal. And from that day one, he set about, obviously, going to the board. And to be fair to the board, they listened very carefully and very quickly. It became the first purpose-built training facility in the country, which every other top club followed. And then beyond that, it was, we have got ultimately to move from Highbury from 38,000 to 60,000. So right from day one, even before all the difference in the training methods, the rehydration and everything else, he was a visionary in that way.
And the point is that when I remember the first time I heard Arsene Wenger talk about a game, he suddenly thought, hold on, have I got the wrong channel here? It sounds like, you know, a philosophy professor talking about some sort of issue of sociology. I mean, he was very softly spoken. He looked, very highbrow, and it was completely different to the image of the kind of footballing drill sergeant or sergeant major that you kind of always thought of as being a football manager, screaming from the sidelines. He was a sort of philosopher manager, wasn't he?
Well, he was that. I mean, that was so different. I would have said 98% of managers at the time when Arsenal arrived, if not 99%, were exactly what we're talking about. They would be screaming and yelling at half-time, even before a game. They would consider that the motivational side. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I stood in the corridor outside the opposition in the old Hyde, listening to managers of opposition screaming and yelling at their players. Now, that's fine. That does work when it's done very, very occasionally. The players who played under Arsenal will tell you they probably heard him lose his right 2 or 3 times in the whole time that they ever played under him. And if you are screaming and yelling at a player, ultimately they say, oh, here he goes again. And that wasn't...
So he had a great bedside manner. I mean, he was almost like a shrink, wasn't he?
Well, I wouldn't put it like that. I mean, he was absolutely understanding of amazing talent, because his football talent was very limited, and he played at Strasbourg, he evidently, obviously bespectacled from very early days. So he could spot in a Thierry Henry who was struggling even with the French national side. He'd got dropped from the World Cup final side, moved him from right wing to the central position, then...
But also he understood, sorry to interrupt, Bob, he understood weaknesses as well, didn't he? I mean, for instance, Captain Tony Adams had a real documentary problem with drink, and he knew that is something that you had to intervene with on psychologically. I mean, it wasn't just about punishment, it was about talking to this guy and getting him off the problem.
Yeah, and the manner in which he went about it. So it wasn't an order, I'm going to drop you or do this. It was a way that he approaches, in fact, even now, how he approaches everybody. And it's the understanding. And in fact, he wasn't alone. There was Tony with Ray Parlour and people like that at the time. And, to their massive credit, they all bought into this new philosophy. And I mean, it was extraordinary to actually witness the manner in which he did it, and the style and the less than inflammatory style that you had seen from other managers. It was very different. You've got to be fair to the previous manager, George Graham, because Arsene had inherited, it wasn't immediately George Graham, but he did inherit the famous back five of that, but then he added to it with Sol Campbell, so it made that, and that then created with all this amazing attacking, entertaining belief that he had, that it ultimately led to the Invincibles, which will remain historically. I don't think I will actually see that again in my lifetime, a team go through, even only spending £250 million like Manchester City do.
Now, you had a terrible tragedy in your own life when your 31-year-old daughter Anna died of a rare form of cancer. I think it was in 1998. And he was very, very understanding, wasn't he? He was very good to you as a friend, as a colleague.
Yeah, I mean, my full-time job was never goalkeeping coach at Arsenal. In fact, I was unpaid goalkeeping coach because there weren't many at that time. My job was in the media and presenting television programmes. Arsene understood the need for goalkeeping coaches, and then, so I would say then, he understood totally where I was coming from, the problems we were having as a family, the problems that Anna was having during her 5-year fight with a very rare form of cancer. But within that time, he showed, particularly on a pre-season tour, which I will never ever forget, him saying, no, you're not sitting anywhere, but you're sitting with me. And he made me sit with him on the coach after we'd finished a training session. And he went into a really in-depth look about the human spirit and about medical science and about how Anna was fighting this fight and going through all these life-saving ops and coming out still optimistic that she would crack it, and understanding how my wife Megs and I and the family were dealing with what is the most difficult situation you can obviously imagine if you're a dad and a mum and a family, and you just, I mean, ultimately Anna lost her fight, but it was Arsene who was one of those people who was able to sustain us at a time when we were obviously in the most difficult place, I think, that any family can face. And I mean, because your life changes irrevocably once you lose one of your children.
He had real empathy.
Empathy, he had everything that you could imagine. I mean, empathy, understanding, incredibly incredible knowledge of a situation and a disease and you know, the cancer, this dreaded word of cancer, which embraces all types of different cancers, but the impact that it has on a family. And he cared to a point where it didn't shock me, because I was already aware of his individuality and brilliance as a human being, because that goes beyond his ability as a football manager.
And yet, if you look at some of the stuff on Twitter and in the papers and, you know, in the media about Arsene Wenger before he resigned, I mean, I don't think I've ever come across such a welter of vitriol about a particular football manager. You know, he became the problem, he was no longer the solution, get rid of Arsene. This thing started some time ago, didn't it? So, do you think people were right to be that critical of him, despite all his strengths, or was that unfair?
No, absolutely unfair and very disrespectful. And
well, why did they turn on him like that, do you think?
Well, they turned on him because in their minds, winning the FA Cup 3 times in the last 4 seasons, which most of the 92 clubs that exist in this country would give their right arm to do, was no longer enough, because he was a victim of his own success. That victim being the fact that he got 3 titles in the first 8 and 9 years, including an invincible season apart in history. You know, and he had 4 other FA Cups to add to that, numerous other semi-finals, final of the Champions League within 5 minutes of winning that, you know, and so he was a victim and became a victim of his own success. Then, and I say this, I hope with as much respect as I can to the modern day media, we are now in a world of scrutiny that is beyond normal, sensible thinking.
But also, Bob, couldn't one say, you know, he was extraordinarily successful, but he was there for 21 years. Isn't the biggest issue for very successful people to know when to quit? And it's better to quit when you're up than when you're on the way down. And he should have quit earlier.
Well, it depends how you judge. You know, there are only 3 major trophies to go for, and Arsene has won 10 of those in 20 years. And without naming the club, but everybody know who I'm going at, they haven't won the league since 1961, you know, and you know who I'm talking about. And I have a lot of friends there, and we laugh and we joke about it together, so I'm not being disrespectful. And they also would give their right arm to win what I think they will win this year, which is the FA Cup. But that applies not only to our near neighbours, it applies to a massive, the majority of clubs that are in the Premier League.
All right, just finally, where will he rank in terms of the greatest managers in football ever? In 20 seconds.
Well, I mean, I don't need 20 seconds to say he will be up there amongst the top 10.
Okay.
Because not only for winning his trophies, by the way, I'm not out of 20 seconds yet, but also, I think also for the manner in which he has changed so much within the game in this country, for which the whole country and all fans should be grateful.
What's he going to do now? Retire?
Well, do you know what? I have got a sneaky feeling, and I want to, like, this is what I personally want to see. I want to see France, the national side, come to him yet again and ask him to be their manager and lift them out of the doldrums they're in at the moment, pretty doldrums, and see Arsene lift France to being one of the powers. And then
wouldn't that be ironic? Yes.
It would be ironic, and it would provide well with me. Listen, I have been very privileged to know this man for almost 22 years.
Bob Wilson, pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the programme. You're listening to LBC. I'm Matt Fry. The time is 10:47.
This is LBC.
Today on Little Spring Spotters, we're talking weather. And there's only one thing on the nation's mind.
Is it going to be good enough for a barbecue?
Yes! So get that grill going with Lidl's deluxe vintage cheddar beef burgers for just £2.69p.
Lidl, big on quality, little on price.
Subject to availability, NI may vary, selected stores.
We've been thinking about the nuclear family, that vision of mum, dad and their 2.4 children, and how times have changed. How we're now living longer and our kids are leaving home later. So we thought, with all this change, shouldn't we change the way we think about mortgages? So we now cater for all types of family and are trying to turn generation rent into generation buy. Mortgages for how life is now. NatWest, we are what we do.
Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
Emirates are bringing the other side of the world closer to home with daily flights from London Stansted. Starting the 8th of June, you'll be able to fly from London Stansted all the way to Dubai and on to over 150 destinations worldwide, making getting from your home to the other side of the world much simpler. Fly Emirates from London Stansted and discover the other side of the world.
You can dial out from your e-receptionist number on your mobile. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at ereceptionist.co.uk. T's and C's apply. See website for details.
Where are you going in my dressing gown?
Sorry, can't stop. The Volkswagen used car event from the 12th to the 30th of April. For a limited time, get 2 years warranty, 2 years MOT cover, 2 years roadside assistance, and 2 services included on Solutions Personal Contract Plan at 6.9% APR representative.
But you haven't finished shaving your beard.
The Volkswagen used car event. Everything else can wait.
Offers on used Volkswagens aged 3 to 48 months. Excludes electric vehicles. Participating retailers. 18s and over. T's and C's apply. Subject to status. Indemnities may be required. Volkswagen Financial Services. Visit volkswagen.co.uk.
Matt Fry on LBC. Text 84850.
We're talking about the Windrush generation. Why were they so unfairly treated? Was it deliberate? Was it a cock-up? Was it computer says no? Or was it computer saying something far more pernicious than that? Who's to blame? And is the compensation and the apologies that we're getting, is that enough? And how could this have happened? How did we get to a place where British citizens, people who feel British, who are British, who look British, who sound British, who've lived there all their lives, are treated like outcasts? The number is 0345 6060 973. Once more, 0345 6060 973. I really want to hear from you if you're affected by this, if you have a very strong opinion either way, or even no opinion, you just want to ask some questions. You know, this is about what kind of country we are, how we treat our own. So that's why I want you to call 0345 6060 973. Let's go to Rafina in Hayes. Rafina, you're on the air.
Good afternoon. Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. Yes, I have been listening to this story now very patiently, sometimes getting quite angry about what I'm hearing. And I thought I'd like to ring just to tell you about my experiences in 1998 when I tried to get my 3 children who were actually born here their own passports.
Where did you come from originally?
I came from Dominica in 1967. I arrived here 3 days before my 11th birthday.
So you're one of the Windrush generation, basically.
More or less. Yeah. My husband came here age 15 in 1969 from the same country. We've got 3 children, born 81, 83 and 85. In the 80s, I don't know if anybody remembers, there was the Falkland veteran who was threatened to be deported, and I think it was to do with the same issues because nobody could actually clarify what his status was in England. We checked our passports. We were told that if your passport says you've got right of abode, you could actually stay here, but nobody could actually give us a definite answer. So we chose to pay for citizenship. So we actually applied and got citizenship in 1989. I've always had my 3 children at the back of my passports for when we go visiting. So we normally go to Dominica. And in 97, I completely forgot. At the age of 16, my eldest should have had her own passport. But we were allowed to travel, and then we came back. In 98, I filled out all the documentation, went to Petite France to get passport. For the first 5 minutes, everything seems to have been working very well. And I don't know what happened to the officer, whether he had a brainstorm. He then decided that there was a problem. First of all, he said he needed to check the person who verified my children, were they bona fide. So I said, fine, you can go and ring. He rang, came back. And he said, that's fine, my eldest could have a passport, but my other 2 were not entitled. So
Did he give a reason?
I said, why? And then he said, because they're not classified as being British, because we, my husband and I, were not born in England. So I said, but we came here in British passports. You've got all our documentation that we've got citizenship. But he still said no. So then he went, spoke to his supervisor, came back, and said that he needed to verify our citizenship, so they needed to contact Liverpool. He went, came back, and said the offices are closed for lunch, so I need to return 2 hours later. So I said, well, what am I expected to do for 2 hours? They said, we can go walk down the street. So anyway, I went, came back. He then said, I've got good news for you. Your youngest can have a passport, but your middle one cannot have one.
It's ridiculous.
You know, what's going on?
Oh my God.
Yeah, so he says, well, as far as we're concerned, she's Dominican. So I said, how can she be Dominican? She's born and bred here. They've always been at the back of my passport. So then he said, well, my colleagues who put your children at the back of a passport should not have done that.
But do you think, I mean, this sounds like listen, we've all had bureaucratic nightmares, and this sounds like a really bad one. Do you think that's what it was? It was sort of, bureaucrats basically, going through the stages, or was it something more pernicious than that?
Well, personally, I thought it was something more than that, because then he started telling me where I was actually born. He denied that I was born in Jamaica, said that I came from the Dominican Republic. So I said, no, that's a total different country.
Yeah.
Then I had to give him a geography lesson to tell him that actually the Dominican Republic used to be known as Hispaniola.
Yes.
And then they changed their name to Dominican Republic. But I am from the Commonwealth of Dominica.
Yeah, of course.
So in the end, they decided to take my daughter's name off my passport, so she had no travel documents. The other two had passports. So I got their names, which they didn't want to give me, the actual officer that I spoke to and the supervisor. And I went to my local MP with all the information, and he wrote to the minister, who was Mike O'Brien at the time. I still got the letters. And they all apologized and said that there was a mistake, and my daughter received her passport. If I wasn't a professional and knew what I had to do, and I was able to get all my information, I don't know what would happen. But what I'm saying to people is that always take names of the people you speak to, go and see your local MP, and
get organised.
And get all of that done.
Yeah.
Even though the letter that I received from the Home Office said that they would make sure this problem never arrives again, but we're now 2018, and it seems the problem's still there for us.
In spades, indeed. But I'm glad it's worked out for you, but what a hassle to go through. Rufina, thank you very much indeed. Let's go to Kelly in Wembley. Kelly on the air.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Are you there? Kel.
Yeah, sorry about that. That story was horrific. I can't believe she went through that. But I want us to remind ourselves of what happened a couple of weeks ago with Syria, where Theresa thought that it's okay to go and bomb another country. Has got nothing to do with us because they've got chemical warfare going on there. But yet she can't take care of the affairs in her own home. That's what happened for the past 20, 30 years. What agenda is going on here? That you can't actually... You have people that are born, bred here, but then all of a sudden they don't have any documents, don't have any papers to actually prove who they are. So where do they go then?
Yeah, well, I think that is the big question, but I think it's being sorted out. Kel, thanks very much. Let's go to Antoinette. Just get one more call in before the hour. Antoinette in Ilford, you're on the air.
Yes, hello. Thank you for accepting my call. I'd just like to say, yes, this is deliberate, and I'd like us to kind of stop beating around the bush here. It's unacceptable. It's disgusting. I mean, it hasn't affected me and my family directly, but because I am less British than many other people, I am now thinking, we are in glass houses. All these legislations, these rules, they knew what they were doing when they created them. We didn't. When people came forward with an issue like your previous caller, like the people that have come to light, the hundreds of people, Home Office knew that there was an issue with this system that would discriminate against some of its British citizens, yet they've pushed it through, they've tried to fight
I'm afraid that lots of you still wanting to be heard on this issue, but we're running out of time this hour. The Windrush generation, unfairly treated by the Home Office and by the government. Now, of course, there are offers of compensation and plenty of apologies. Will that be enough to heal some very, open wounds that have been created by a combination of bureaucracy and policy, the Windrush generation? But in the next hour, we're going to talk about something else. Whatever happened to Fire and Fury, Little Rocket Man, and from the other side, Dotard? Remember the slagging match between Kim and Trump? Well, what a difference a Winter Olympics makes. The two are now set to meet in May. Overnight, we hear that the North Koreans have abandoned their nuclear testing and research program before a summit with South Korea in the next week. This all sounds very positive. Although the real litmus test is whether Kim is prepared to scrap his existing nukes. He apparently has 30 to 50, enough to create devastation or indeed a deterrent. So what's happened? Has Kim Jong-un been suing for peace, and why? Is it North Korean pragmatism, sanctions biting, or could it be that Trump's bombast and bluster has yielded results? Is Trump more sinned against than sinning? Call.
Online, on your mobile, and on digital media. Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 11 o'clock. The Foreign Office has described the announcement North Korea will suspend nuclear tests and missile launches as a positive step. State-run media has also revealed Pyongyang plans to close a nuclear test site. It comes ahead of a new round of negotiations with South Korea and the United States. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has given the news a cautious welcome.
What's important is that this motion leads to complete, verifiable and irreversible dismantlement of North Korea's nuclear and missile programs. I want to take a close look at it.
It's emerged records of thousands of people arriving in the UK decades ago are being held in the National Archives. The news offers hope to members of the Windrush generation who arrived here after the Second World War without official paperwork. Yesterday, the Prime Minister announced those who've been wrongly threatened with deportation may be eligible to compensation. On Thursday, Glenda Caesar became one of the first Windrush immigrants to be formally given the right to stay.
It started in '98 when my mother passed away and I wanted to apply for a British passport. That's when I found out I wasn't British. And I was like, okay, because they said, no, you're not British, you can't have a British passport.
Police have arrested a 28-year-old man in connection with a botched burglary at the home of a pensioner in southeast London. The 78-year-old was initially arrested for killing one of the suspected burglars, but was later released without charge. Police have been searching for a second suspect who fled the scene. Billy Jeeves was detained in Kent yesterday. Figures from across the world of entertainment have been paying tribute to Swedish DJ Avicii, who's died at the age of 28. His publicist says he was discovered in Oman yesterday. Clarence House has declined to comment on an accusation of racism levelled at Prince Charles. A journalist claimed that Prince of Wales joked that she didn't look like she was from Manchester. Anita Sethi says she was left feeling shocked and humiliated. And Sir Tom Jones and Kylie Minogue are among the music stars performing for the Queen's birthday concert later. The event tonight at the Royal Albert Hall celebrates Her Majesty's 92nd birthday. Hyde Park and the Tower of London will also be firing gun salutes in her honour this lunchtime. LBC weather, a warm, dry and sunny day for most. Some heavy and thundery showers over parts of England and Wales, moving northeastwards this afternoon. A high of 24 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Amelia Cox.
You've got no more pockets to check, and it's nearly your turn to order. You've got £2 and 49 pence of rummage change for lunch. Oh dear, hang on. The new sub of the day is only £2.49. Quid's in! 7 days, 7 original 6-inch subs to discover. Now that's a tasty return on your pocket change, my friend. Subway, keep discovering. Terms and conditions apply. See participating stores for details.
LBC Travel, there are queues on the M23 southbound in Surrey because of a car fire earlier on. All the lanes are now open. In Clapham, the South Circular stays partially blocked both ways after a car overturned earlier this morning at Broomwood Road. Also on the South Circular eastbound, there are queues in Lee. There's a lane closed near the Cliftons roundabout for the A2 for emergency repairs. In Westminster, Whitehall is closed in both directions because of a wreath-laying ceremony. And there are queues on the A40 westbound from Hillingdon going towards the Denham roundabout at the M40. That's because of a car boot sale. LBC Travel, I'm Dave Garth.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Matt Fry.
avenue to quote Cabaret. Now, I want you to listen to this and tell me what you think it means.
주체 107, 2018년 4월 21일부터 핵시험과 대륙간 탄도 로켓 시험 발사를.
That's right, your favorite newsreader from North Korea. The one with the kind of Jane Austen 18th century pink outfit, who, you know, faces off against the camera, bows deeply as all newsreaders should, really. I don't know why I don't do it anymore, but as we should. And here talking in strident Korean about world affairs. But no, this time she is not calling President Trump a dotard or insulting America, the evil imperial empire. No, she's actually saying that North Korea, her country, has announced that it is suspending its nuclear and long-range missile tests. Yes, the North Koreans seem to be suing for peace, finally. Now, this in the run-up to a summit which will be held next week with South Korea. This in the run-up to the summit which will be held with President Trump sometime in May, we think. So, is denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula really on the cards? And why? Why this change of heart from North Korea? Now, we've seen this in the last few weeks, months, I should say. After all, they sent a team to the Olympics, the Winter Olympics in South Korea. We had the army of beauties, of North Korean beauties, deployed at various ceremonies. A great PR coup. We had Kim Jong-un's sister, charming everyone in a way that we thought that charm was beyond the Kim family. And then behind it, of course, is the military reality that they already have something between 30 and 50 nuclear warheads and the missiles, you know, to actually put them somewhere. So, is he actually suing for peace? And is he consolidating the arsenal that he already has? Is he prepared to give up existing nukes rather than just trying to develop new ones? Because that seems to be the key litmus test here. Is he prepared to do that? If he's prepared to do that, then I think we're in a completely different territory. If he's not prepared to do that, well, we, you know, however many, you know, armies of beauties and summits we have in the coming weeks, we might be back to square one, and expectations might have been raised rather dangerously. But the other question is, and that's what I want you to tell me, is have we misunderstood Trump's bombast and bluster, especially over North Korea? Has it actually worked? Has it yielded results? Good cop, bad cop, that kind of stuff. Our first guest is John Everard, former British ambassador to North Korea between 2006 and 2008. And we're also going to talk to my old friend Jan Harper Hayes, former worldwide vice president of Republicans overseas and veteran defender of most things Trump, but not all things Trump. Welcome to you both. John Everard, let me start with you. Is this a quantum change from the North Koreans, and why?
Not quite a quantum change, but it certainly is a significant advance. This wasn't just an announcement by Kim Jong-un. This was actually a resolution by the Central Committee of the North Korean ruling party. That's to say that effectively the North Koreans have passed this into law. They are signalling as strongly as they know how that they're not going to do any more tests. Now, this was always in the offing. Ever since they announced last year that they had completed their nuclear program, people were waiting for them to make this announcement, but most people thought that they would wait until Friday, which of course is the day that Kim Jong-un meets President Moon Jae-in of South Korea, and they would use it to, as we say, sort of add luster to the summit. But okay, they've announced it a week early. It looked to me like what Mikhail Gorbachev used to call the preemptive concession.
So are you saying that the North Koreans are getting rather dab at diplomacy and you know, international PR and charm offensives?
They've been very good at diplomacy for a long time. They play by, shall we say, rather different rules than everybody else, but they have consistently played a very weak hand with consummate skill. These people are not stupid.
John Everard, you know North Korea as well as anyone does who's not from North Korea, probably better than most people who live in North Korea. Do you think this has anything to do with Trump's bluster from last year?
It may do, and this, of course, is what President Trump is claiming. Equally, it may be the converse. It may be that the North Koreans, who have, after all, successfully tested a dazzling variety of missiles and nuclear devices, now believe that their nuclear deterrent is sufficiently credible that they can actually sit down with the United States and at last negotiate from a position of strength. Maybe one day we'll find out the truth.
Well, Jan Harper Hayes, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Do you think that Trump's been misunderstood, that actually his bluster has finally yielded results and we just didn't notice it?
Yes, Matt. You know I do. I think...
I had a sneaking suspicion you might say that.
Yeah, of course. But see, I think people are divided in two ways. They either focus on how he behaves and they don't hear him, or they take his comments literally and isolate it. And then there are those of us who realize he's focusing on what the critical issues are and how he's going about dealing with the issues. And we just don't worry about his tweets or his behavior. And I think this is a great achievement for him, but what we also have to say is Mike Pompeo was over there in North Korea, and
This is the head of the CIA who's now going to become the new Secretary of State.
Well, we hope he'll become the Secretary of State. You know, we've got Republicans who are saying they're going to vote against him, but I think with this coming, they'd be very foolish not to approve him as the Secretary of State.
But the litmus test, Jan, for the success of his policy is whether Kim Jong-un is prepared to get rid of existing nukes. I mean, if he's got something between 30 and 50 warheads, that is enough to start a proper nuclear war on the Korean Peninsula, or perhaps beyond. It can be used as a deterrent, and the decision that Trump has to make is, do we allow him to keep this stuff, or do we force him, or charm him, or bribe him into getting rid of it?
Well, I know the end goal is that definitely not making any more, and ideally destroying some. But they don't, from the foreign policy perspective, they're not thinking that way. They are thinking step by step. So the litmus test, the first litmus test, was can we even have a conversation? The second litmus test is now they're going to host. That is the way the progress works towards getting towards the goal. Because what is said to the media publicly versus what is really said privately through those diplomatic are two different things.
John Everard, do you think that Kim Jong-un is trying to consolidate what he has, or does he believe that his ultimate goal still the unification of the Korean Peninsula under a North Korean flag?
Yes, he's trying to consolidate what he has. His ultimate goal, he has to do something about South Korea. North Korea cannot exist indefinitely with another version of Korea, enormously more successful, richer, better connected, you know, all the positives on the other half of the peninsula.
Why not?
Well, because North Koreans start to ask, you know, we keep talking about reunification. Why don't we simply become part of South Korea? And it's a question to which the regime has no answer. So why should we sort of live in this rather poor part of the peninsula when there's a much more successful economy very happy to take us on? And of course, you know, the Kim dynasty knows that if that happens, they are, to put it politely, out of the job. But I think we'll have a much better idea as to answer your question, about this time next week, after Kim Jong-un and Moon Jae-in have sat down for their summit. I expect to know then what it is that North Korea wants to do about the South.
If the North Koreans say to Trump, okay, we will scrap our nuclear weapons, but in return we want every last American soldier, and I think there's something like, what is it, 3,700 American soldiers in South Korea? Anyway, whatever the number is, we want them all to go home. Do you think that is a gamble that President Trump should engage in?
Well, very briefly, no. But I don't think that is the way that they will play it. The South Koreans are saying, the North Koreans have said, why do all the South Koreans just speak of the North, that they will be prepared to allow U.S. troops to remain in Korea.
Yeah.
I think the more likely demand is that, let's step back a bit. When we talk about denuclearization, when the North Koreans talk about denuclearization, they talk about denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, which it turns out means the removal of any possible United States nuclear threat against North Korea, which, given that United States nuclear weapons have global reach, effectively means that you scrap your nuclear arsenal, we'll scrap ours. It's a bit of a big ask. But
that's not going to happen, is it? I mean, are the Americans going to scrap their nuclear capability in order to do a deal with North Korea?
And pigs might fly. No,
I mean, you've got China, you've got America, I mean, you've got Russia, you've got all sorts of other potential conflicts.
Yes, precisely. No, there are very good reasons why, as you say, that is not going to happen.
That is the demand, effectively, that the North Koreans have been making for a long time, and they're showing no sign of stepping away from it. Which means even if the Trump-Kim summit goes ahead, or President Trump just the other day indicated that it doesn't look promising, he won't go, and we can't be sure that this is going to work out, so keep your champagne on ice for the time being.
We will, but not with Jan Harper-Hayes, who's, I know, is always partial to a glass of bubbly at this time of the morning. Jan, especially when President Trump is doing apparently so well. So here's one final one for you, Jan. So President Macron of France is going to be the first foreign leader to be given the full works of a state banquet in Washington next week. In fact, it sounds like President Trump is going to meet Kim Jong-un before he meets Theresa May, although we now hear this morning that he is due to arrive on these shores on perhaps the 14th or 15th of July, right slap bang in the middle of summer, when all the demonstrators are on holiday, or maybe not. So will you be out there cheering him when he comes to this country?
No, I won't be out there cheering him. I might be at some private receptions if I'm in the country, but
okay.
No.
No such thing of you standing on the mall with a sun hat and a flag.
Oh, goodness.
You don't do that kind of thing.
No, I definitely don't.
Okay, but so my serious question, Jan, is this. Do you feel that this government is suddenly panicking? Okay, we had to keep him at bay because he was toxic, and he was going to get
Well, that's true. And I don't think that the naysayers or the never-Trumpers are necessarily going to change their mind. They still influence the government. All right, let's say he has made racist and sexist comments, but you have had dictators that have been welcomed at Parliament that have actually killed people. So I don't understand the logic, and basically what your left has done is really alienate the U.S.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's part of this, I hate the term special relation, but we do have this, special understanding with America, where we swing from adulation to revulsion and back again. Obama walked on water, and Trump is, couldn't be drowning in enough of it for most people here, for many people here. So it is sort of, there's never anything in between. I remember when I was reporting for Washington in the era of George W. in Hampshire,